As the intersectoral task force committee set up by the government continues to investigate the cause and effects of the biggest oil spill ever in the country, oyster collectors in the affected area expressed concern over displeasure, saying it has forced them to abandon their works. Now, the executive director of the National Environment Agency, Dr. Dauda Baji, has told reporters that those affected by the oil spillage will be compensated. Mafuji Sise has the details in this report.
The National Environment Agency, Gambia Petroleum, Pura, and National Disaster Management Agency committee members have embarked on an intensive cleanup exercise of the spillage. Dr. Baji explained that the effect of the oil spillage is not severe, as some of the birds spotted at the shore were able to fly despite their wings being tainted by the heavy oil. Speaking further, Dr. Baji explained that birds would not have flown if the oil effect was severe, adding that some mangroves were also covered by the heavy oil and the already established mangroves were also affected. He said the spillage came at a time of high tide, making the water push the oil out, minimizing the damages.
Well, as I said, we all see together, and then you realize marine oysters and other things actually it's a living thing. So when they are covered with oil, naturally they have a problem. And when you look at it on the livelihood, there are fishermen, there are other people who live, women who live on this. They depend on marine for their survival. So naturally that has an impact. But as I said last time, we need to have a livelihood assessment maybe in the future after the cleanup to ensure that what is the extent of the damage, and then we see what we can do. And those conclusions will also be forwarded to the polluter and see how they can compensate them accordingly.
Meanwhile, Lamin Komma, head of coastal and marine environment at the National Environmental Agency, revealed that the area is a sensitive ecological site, as it's where oysters that are growing on the roots of the mangroves, and also an area where fish species are found, and depends on ecosystem until they are of age and move to the ocean for their survival.
Oysters are filter feeders. Filter feeders because they get in water into their system, flush it, and get the nutrients out of it. And now this the oil is stained on the prop roots of the mangroves as well as on the shells of the oysters. What is going to cause is there's going to be mortality. Mortality in such a way that the oysters, of course, there'll be drop in their production, and again there's going to be dieback on the mangrove ecosystem. The oysters, I said there's going to be a drop in the oysters, and this is going to have an impact on us in the sense that we'll not have the products that we get from the river.
Oyster collectors told Eyeafrica that many of their colleagues have stopped work since the oil spill occurred, as it has affected the mangrove swamps and made them dangerous to venture into. The women oyster collector took the opportunity to recount their current situation, triggered by the over 70,000 liters of heavy oil leak into the river related to the recent operations of Gambia Petroleum. They said most women who engage in the oyster collections are now sitting at home, and that it is the same situation for oyster collectors in the riverine settlement of Madinari, Kunkujang, Jataya, Kubune, Kembuje, Bonto, and Pirang. My name is Atoni Jata. The oil spill has affected our lives and livelihood. The oil is stuck on the oysters. We usually clean it with our salt and it make it black. I am a native of this village, Kunkujan Jataya, and I have been working here for the past 7 years, but right now we are not into any work here since this oil spill occurred. The spilled oil is all over the mangroves where oysters inhabit, making it dangerous to have access and collect oyster for sale. Words of Janke Jata. Atonye Jata and Ambias Sanyang explained that they have been collecting oysters for more than 20 years. The duo narrate that the oil spill has made them voluntarily cease their activities, and this will have adverse effect on their business and livelihood, since from the said business they derive a source of livelihood and pays the schools of their children. They called for oyster collectors to be compensated for the damage caused by the oil spill. For Eyeafrica News, I am Mafuji Sise.